Hello Centrals! Today I wanted to actually tackle almost the core of my work, which is intimacy. In English, intimacy can also be explained like into me see. Now if you try to do that in Romanian, it doesn't work. Probably not the same in French and other languages, but in English it works and it makes sense. Actually, it represents what intimacy is. You get to see inside of somebody or something, a situation. You get to know something or someone intimately. It's a space, and by space I don't mean necessarily a physical space. It's an atmosphere created, a relationship created, a connection created, a level of understanding, and a level of identifying with whatever is seen, felt, or understood, or communicated in that space. Now, intimacy can be of four kinds mainly. That's social intimacy, intellectual intimacy, emotional intimacy, and sexual intimacy. There are other types of intimacy out there, but let's just say that the major ones are these four. I'm going to add another one, and that is your very own intimacy, your ability to be with yourself, to hold your own space, to understand, to feel yourself, and also to develop yourself. First and foremost, I'm addressing mainly women because women are the ones who get to express more of emotions, and it's quintessential for them to be able to master them in such a way that they help the relationship instead of hindering it. With men, it's a different perspective. I'll get to that one at the end, but let's address women first of all. Emotional intimacy includes your own personal intimacy, the ability to hold your own space. How do you do that, and what does it mean? First, it means to get to the place where you sense your internal universe from a higher degree, your hopes, your wishes, your aspirations, your feelings. You get to feel the way your feelings, your emotions are changing actually, because emotion is the most volatile of all, in fact. And you get to bring also your own consciousness into whatever happens inside of you, whether it's good or bad at any time. And this is where we have people who have a high emotional intelligence. First of all, they are able to understand themselves and to manage themselves going through various emotions at just about any time. So they're not superhumans, they can't do everything by themselves, but they have this, let's say, higher ability to address their own emotions and connect with them. It can be through just sitting down or lying down somewhere and just being there with yourself and processing or going through whatever it is that you're experiencing at the moment. It can be joy, it can be sorrow, it can be a feeling of rejection, of abandonment, it can be fear, a feeling of being in love, a feeling of being excited. A lot of people, when they are going through these very intense emotions, they have this urge to do something about it, to go to somebody, to act on them. Holding your own space means just to be with your emotions and experience them and let them be, and either integrate them as much as possible or enjoy them if they're positive emotions. Because, for instance, if you feel excited at a certain point for no reason, it can happen. Women can have that, and you all of a sudden you're hot. God knows why. Maybe you fell in love recently and you're hot for that person. Well, you don't necessarily have to do something on the spot about it. You can just be with your emotion, and that's enough. It's the strongest place to be in, actually, just to live it. Secondly, the purpose of this is also to see it transform and to guide it, sort of, if it's a bad emotion, to cleanse it, to purify it, to bring it to a higher place where you can move on. So if you're going through intense distress, being with yourself in those moments is quintessential. If you're going through distress, there's nothing that you can do that is intelligent, that is from a place of power and healthy for that matter, because you're going through distress. And in those moments, you just need to be with yourself and keep yourself warm, either physically or just emotionally, and be there for you. So you gotta stick up for yourself. And if it's just staying there and crying by yourself until you process all that distress, then that's it. For women, it's important because whenever women want to experience sexuality much more profoundly, where there's one step that they need to be aware of. And that step, which is very important, is keeping themselves happy. That's a tough job, especially if you live in a crowded city where people are so rushed all the time and situations can go out of control very fast, and emotions as well. Keeping yourself as a woman happy is the toughest job on the planet. And why it's important, a lot of people, and a lot of women especially, are raised to the idea that they need a man, partner, to make them happy. And that's putting a huge responsibility on another person's shoulder. And it can scare a lot of men away. They can feel not, the right person for the job. How do they know what makes this woman happy if she doesn't know on her own and she can't show or indicate or share that to me? So a man who sees this kind of a woman, he'll probably say, okay, she needs help or she needs happiness. We all do, right? We all do. But I cannot be the sole provider of this woman's happiness. The ability for a woman to hold her own space, to hold her own happiness and to bring it and to maintain it on her own is a very important quality. And that is what keeping your own intimate space means. And you can do this with just being there for you, meditating, doing yoga, doing Pilates, doing, arts, painting, singing on your own, going to, take dancing classes or just take a dance class and then do it by yourself. So do whatever you need in your private time to get you in a place of stability and in a place of, I'm not going to say self-sufficiency, but it's somewhere in the area where you don't need somebody else all the time, constantly, to make you happy. This is what holding your own space means. Now, as we're human beings, we can't do this all the time, and we can't expect to do this all the time. We need others also. That's why we have relationships, that's why we live in societies. Otherwise, we'd be living in a convent, in a cave, in a forest, or somewhere where there's nobody around us, and we could live like that all the time. And that doesn't happen with the majority of us. So, the other part of emotional intimacy is holding the space for somebody else and being able to share that space with somebody else. Now, in a couple, in this dynamic, obviously both have feelings involved. They just manifest them differently. But being able to have your emotions meet in a, let's say, in a harmonious way, it's an art. And a lot of people still struggle with this. That's why relationships sometimes can be so stressed or tense or too much, and that's why relationships break sometimes much faster than they should, probably. Being able to be present for somebody else, first and foremost, means that you are okay and you are stable within yourself. If you're going through a lot of distress or you're just not concentrating on the place and the moment, then you can't hold the space for somebody else. So that's the first thing that you need to do, be stable in yourself. And that's why doing your inner work by yourself is important. When you're stable, coming and meeting somebody from this place of stability and of being happy and at ease and where emotions can flow harmoniously and you can really listen and really take in whatever this person is sharing with you without feeling the need to jump in and share your own emotions as well, but just accept and process and listen to, with your full presence, to the other person. This is emotional intimacy. And in doing so, you're offering a space of safety, understanding, and caring for this other person to open up. And that's the most beautiful place that you can be in a relationship. From this place, you get the sexual intimacy developing and reaching higher and higher states. The idea is that we can't always process things on our own, and we need somebody to be there present, to witness whatever we're going through. And it is through somebody who's witnessing our emotions, whether they are good or bad, it doesn't matter. We get to have the energy and the strength to integrate them and to move on from these places. You also need a place to relax, to just be with your failures, with your flaws, with your whatever is not good or perfect about you, because nobody's perfect. We're human beings. We're perfectible, but not perfect. And this kind of an ability ideally is molded into you as you're growing up. But other people, once they get to be mature, they can help you develop this muscle and this trust by building emotional intimacy with you. As a human being, the ability to hold space for somebody else, no matter who it is, it's a gift that not everybody has because not everybody cultivates it. And again, this means not judging somebody else. So if you're stable in yourself and you can totally receive, you can totally listen and be present with what is shared or shown or manifested there, then obviously the first thing that you need to do is not judge. So just accept it. And it can be tough. It can be tough because, for instance, if you're witnessing a manifestation of aggression, of hatred, of revenge, of fear, holding the space for that is obviously tough. And another thing that you need to know once we get into this, you're not forced to hold the space for just anyone. So if you don't feel up to the job, you can also communicate this, which is very tough on the other person to hear that you're not able to provide for them whatever they need in the moment. Ideally, you would also, on the long run, develop this ability. So if something that you see in somebody scares you, and this can happen usually with men and women. Men tend to get scared of women who express too much emotion, too sudden, because they're not in the habit of expressing their emotions. Obviously, for women, the trick is to not unload that ton of emotions on them so fast. But a good advice for men is to gradually start getting into their emotional feminine aspect of themselves so that they can hold the space for a woman. So holding space for somebody is, like I said, an art. It's not an easy job, and it's the most important one ever, especially if you're looking for an intimate relationship with somebody. You gotta be able to hold space and share space with somebody, and both men and women should do their internal work. Women to learn to process more of these emotions and try to balance themselves as much as possible. And men try to get in touch with their emotions more, because the majority of men are grown in the idea that they need to be tough. They shouldn't show emotions, they shouldn't show their vulnerable side, because this is what will get them into trouble. This is what will send out signs of weaknesses, and they need to be strong, they need to be tough, they need to be the leaders in the world, which is true. But self-esteem, self-trust, full self-esteem and full self-trust actually comes with the ability to go through your emotions and manifest them. In my training, my coach, who is a man, he says that what I wish for all women who come to this training is men who are able and brave enough to cry. And this was actually, in my training, this was the first place that I ever saw a full-grown man cry, well, in my presence. And I really want to share this with you because this vlog is also an intimate space. When I saw this man crying, I was crying, and he started crying also. And my tears stopped flowing. I was like in shock, and I told him, I don't know what to do. I've never seen a full grown up man crying in front of me, somebody whom I don't know so well. And he pulled his nose and he said, I am so sorry for you. And he repeated, I am so sorry for you. That's true. I gotta tell you, I was so sorry for me too. I wished I had more men around me, grown up, mature, full-grown men who were fathers or grandfathers who were brave enough to cry in my presence. And I hope that as time goes and as more and more people start to do personal development, they'll start doing emotional work as well on themselves. Because there's nothing weak about showing your human side, because we're all humans. And in a relationship, there's nothing much more stronger than sharing emotions on both ends. And in case of men, to manifest their emotions, that's powerful, that's deep. And if women are strong enough to handle that, that's a beautiful place also to be in. So this is it. I hope that you enjoy it and I hope that it helps. And I'll see you in the next week's vlog with other juicy or provocative subjects like this one.